So today I'm going to tell you about 4 of my most unpopular equestrian opinions. So I have a lot of unpopular equestrian opinions simply because I have a little bit of a different philosophy and a little bit of a different approach to horse training and lesson instruction and things like that than this sort of industry standard. Let's just jump right into my number 1 unpopular equestrian opinion. So number 1 is kind of a hot topic right now, and that is the topic of positive versus negative reinforcement. And I've definitely talked a lot about this in my video here about just exactly that topic. But I think it's worth saying here that I think both positive and negative reinforcement are important to the overall well-being and clear communication with your horse, and an effective training strategy in most cases, although I do agree in some cases, picking a lane and sticking to it is a really good strategy. However, I believe in most cases a blend of positive and negative reinforcement has the most effective approach and training strategies for the average horse. Unpopular opinion number 2 is that all domesticated horses should be on certain supplements. I used to work in a feed store. I worked there for 8 years, so I've heard every possible opinion about supplements and feed that is out there. And as an equine nutritionist, I really strongly believe that all horses, domestic horses, should be on at least a couple of supplements. And again, I have a video all about that here if you want to learn more about it, but I'll just say for right now that the way that we process our hay and the fact that we actually feed our domestic horses only typically 1 to 2 varieties of plants a day, it's very highly controlled, causes them to have certain nutrient deficiencies that are specific to our domestic horses and the diets that we feed them. So by giving them certain things like salt, which is not the same as electrolytes, separate items, salt, a mineral supplement, and an amino acid and omega supplement, we can make sure that we're filling in all of the gaps that are existing in their hay. And these are things that are completely separate and different from our functional supplements, which are things like skin and coat or joint health, hoof supplements, things like that. That's a whole different can of worms. What I'm talking about here are the things that are prevalent in the natural foods that horses eat in the wild that are not present in the hay that we feed them because of the way that the hay is grown and processed. Unpopular opinion number 3 is that there's no such thing as a problem horse. The things that we tend to think of as problem behavior in our horses, like bucking, rearing, bolting, kicking, biting, cribbing, weaving, all of those things are really just symptoms of a larger issue. There are typically 3 main reasons why a horse might exhibit some of these problem behaviors are in some kind of either physical or emotional pain, and it's really important for us to find out what that is and rule that out before moving on to other reasons that the horse might be exhibiting problem behaviors. The second reason a horse might be exhibiting problem behaviors is because of sort of confusion or frustration. So we need to make sure that we're not pushing that horse too hard or asking them to do things that are above their confidence level and their ability level. And then third reason that a horse might be exhibiting those behaviors, and this is the one that we tend to blame all of these behaviors on, but actually is the least common cause of problem behaviors, and that is that it's sort of a learned behavior that maybe we've accidentally taught this horse to behave in this way. And this is the one you hear people talk about when they say things like, oh, if your horse bucks you off, you have to get right back on, so that they don't learn to buck you off to get out of work. Horses don't actually think that way. Most of the time, if a horse is bucking you off, it's not because they're trying to get out of work. However, sometimes we can inadvertently teach them certain behaviors like biting to get a treat, right? We can accidentally teach them that if we give them a treat, whether they snap and grab the treat or they, very gently take the treat, we can accidentally teach them to be mouthy. So those are things that we just want to be aware of. And last but not least, unpopular opinion number 4 is I am a fair weather rider, and I believe most people should probably also be fair weather riders. We tend to have this thinking in the equestrian industry that we have to cowboy up and muscle through it and get through whatever the challenge or the circumstance of the day might be. However, the times when people rode for necessity are long past, and now we all ride because it's fun. And, riding is enjoyable on the best of days, but, on those days that it's like windy and cloudy and maybe it's kind of drizzly, or your horse isn't quite feeling right, or you're not quite feeling right, or you have a bad headache, or whatever might be going on that's going to jeopardize your ability to enjoy your ride, you're really doing both yourself and your horse a disservice if you are a hobby rider. This, of course, is completely different if you're a professional and you get paid to ride. I understand that, and I'm not talking about that here. What I'm talking about here are the people that ride because it's fun and their horse is their pet. And yes, you still owe your horse something on those days, maybe taking them for a long walk or doing some groundwork or just spending some time grooming them, because it's not fair to leave your horse in their stall because you have a headache. However, it's also not fair for you to ride and be grumpy and angry at your horse the entire time because you have a headache and your horse is just acting totally normal. So on those days that you're just not quite feeling right, or that the weather isn't quite suiting you and you're like worried about safety, or you're just not really feeling it, or you're kind of grumpy, you're actually going to be kinder to your horse if you just do something more fun that day and kind of put riding on the back burner and come back to riding tomorrow when you're feeling better, your horse is feeling better, and you're both going to actually enjoy your ride. So there you have it, my 4 top unpopular equestrian opinions. I'm probably going to get some heat for these, and that's okay. I am completely aware that these are not the most common beliefs out there, but I believe them for good reason, and I'm also open to discussions. I always say, I'm here for the hard discussions. I want to hear your opinions, and if you think that I'm wrong, I'm open to hearing why, and who knows, maybe I'll change my mind, and maybe throughout my lifetime I'll change my mind, because I've certainly learned and evolved plenty up until this point, and I plan to continue to learn and evolve. But as of today, these are 4 things that I strongly believe, and they definitely inform my daily approach to my horses.